Okay, so here's an interesting history. That pub right across the street there, it's called Gestalt House. So that was a pub or a place. It might have been a coffee shop in the beginning, but way back in the day, I don't know, the 60s or whatever. That's where Gestalt therapy was basically created. I don't remember the history. I made a video years ago about it. I don't think I uploaded it, but anyways, I just thought that was kind of interesting. So I'm in Fairfax, California. So there's a lot of people that are into psychology here years ago. What they thought was cutting edge therapy. Anyways, just need a little interesting bit of history. So pull out, and I'm downtown Fairfax. All right, peace, guys. All right, so here's another interesting fact about psychology. What we in the United States, probably Europe, call modern psychology, is it was basically built and designed, created by a bunch of people that were high, drunk, and doing cocaine. So if you know anything about Freud, he was a cocaine freak to the extent that he had lost his teeth and had to have wooden teeth put in. So that's what modern day psychology is based on. If you don't believe me, look it up. Any of you who've taken Psychology 1, if you remember, that was one of the first things, well, not the first thing, but it's one of the things we learned in the first semester of Psychology 1. I'm trying to think what else. There was another thing I was going to say. Oh, yeah. So here's another interesting thing about American psychology is they think, here, let me get past this guy. All right. So American psychology think they're so advanced, and what I'm comparing it to is 5,000 years of Buddhist and or Asian therapy. So modern psychology is about, forgive me, I forget the number, I think it's like 200-300 years old, whereas Asian therapy, psychology, healing works are 5,000 years old. So which one do you think is going to be more advanced? Obviously the 5,000 years old one, because they've been studying it forever. There's an interesting fact about your therapist. Peace. Oh, and I forgot to mention hallucinogenics like LSD, mushrooms, peyote, and all that good stuff. So believe it or not, I'm serious, a lot of therapy that we call modern psychology was designed and developed off of all those hallucinogenic drugs and all the other ones I mentioned. Okay, so what's my point in all this? All right, so my point is, a lot of your therapists, their teachings are designed from hallucinogenics and lots of drugs. So one of the things that upset me the most and made a huge impact in my life was learning that Freud was basically the most arrogant, egotistical, loudmouth in the room. He was the most aggressive because he did the most cocaine, and that's actually a fact. That really did not sit well with me, and during this period of time, during studying psychology, I found neurolinguistic programming, which led me to Ericksonian hypnosis, which led me to timeline therapy, which led me to energy healing, etc., etc. Excuse me. So I got led down this really interesting path from psychology all the way down to neurolinguistic programming, which is a form of psychology, but it's more advanced, to Ericksonian hypnosis, which is the most advanced hypnotherapy form. It's about therapy and healing, and then it led me into energy healing and consciousness work and timeline therapy. So what happened was here's the difference. Psychology is based on beliefs, opinions, and theories. None of it is based on actual facts, and here's how you help someone to change. One of the things they said in one of our 5-week trainings was like, look, you either know how to fix a car or you don't. Would you take your car to a mechanic who says, yeah, I'm going to charge you $125 an hour, but I'm not sure if I can fix it. But the theory says, the philosophy says, the belief or the opinion says I should be able to do it. But if I can't, I'm still going to charge you. Well, of course not. So I really fell in love with consciousness work, energy healing, and all these newer. Actually, they're not newer because they were developed over 5,000. They're newer to Americans, I would say. So it became really rewarding working with people and helping them to make actual shifts and changes, like in 1 or 2 sessions. I remember my very, very first client. I was probably 22 years old or younger, maybe 20, maybe 21. And she came in with this real serious issue she was having. it was basically, she had no problem with people criticizing her, talking behind her back, like, and I was kind of looking at her like, right, because everyone has a problem with that. And she goes, no, really, I didn't. I'm like, so what changed? And she goes, I don't know, for some reason it really hurts. And so I found out what she was doing on an unconscious level, and then I just reinstalled it, and boom, it was done. And that session took about an hour or so, maybe a little more. She called me up about, I want to say a week later or maybe a little more, but she goes, what did you do? And so it was a complete healing. So I thought, this is pretty cool. I mean, it's just right out of the gate, I'm just hitting home runs. And so then I eventually, and it was early on too, it might have been the very next client, but it was somewhere along the lines of that, was this person had a lifelong phobia, and she absolutely terrified. I'm not going to go in depth of what it was, but it was connected to death basically, and blood and all this stuff. But she had been to therapy for, I think at this point, 20 some years, and her husband would have to pick up and carry her to the car and take her home at all these parties and events. And he said, because he came up to me after, because I don't know what you did, but thank you so much, sir, blah, 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 blah. And it was really a huge confidence booster that I had realized I was definitely on the right path. So I think all I'm trying to say overall is the path of psychology, it has a very interesting path of doing drugs and coke and hallucinogenics and all that stuff. And how it kind of rubbed me wrong, and it sent me down a different path, which was much, much more rewarding for me. Oh, and by the way, this image that you're looking at right now, this is how your energy field should be when you interact with other people. Most men don't do this. They do this laser beam thing from their forehead, which I'm going to show you. Hold on a second. Okay, so this image is what most people do, and this is what narcissists do. This is what they are the masters of. They will connect energetically to your forehead, forehead to forehead or eyes to eyes, and they will drain you, and that's how they start to control you. A lot of people do this because narcissists have intervened into society for thousands and thousands of years, and this is what most people do. This is not healthy at all. And it was funny, it was put in like an ad, I forget what it was, but this is how you make mental connections. No, this is not the proper way. This is very unhealthy. It'll give women headaches. They don't like it at all. So let's go back to the other picture. Okay, so in this picture, your awareness and your energy is around your body and inside your body and energy field, okay? This is a very healthy way. This is about allowing people to be in their own space so they can feel comfortable. Otherwise, you're controlling them. It's like a tug of war, either from the forehead, the third eye chakra, or from the heart chakra. Those are the main ones. Sometimes it can be the throat and the solar plexus, but the main ones are the heart and the forehead. And that's how most people, they'll lock on and throw that laser beam out and grab onto your chest or your forehead. So when I learned this blew my mind, because all of a sudden I could just relax around people. I felt comfortable. I could have a greater awareness of them, and on and on. And now here's the really cool thing. I began to notice that women became very comfortable around me and would open up conversations with me. And at first I was like, what's going on here? It's like, every time I go into this space, it allows women to feel comfortable around me. Now, here's the other thing. Whenever I do any of my healing work with people, and I mean energy healing or even the therapy side, I go into this form of awareness, and I always teach this to all of my clients, because this is the space in where you can let go of your issues and your problems, and it allows the healing to begin.